So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And I'm thinking about which corporation is likely to be the corporate Judas that ends humanity. So you might wonder, what am I talking about? Well, the fact of the matter is that the purpose of corporations is to provide interest and gains for their shareholders, as in above all else, whether that is good for society or not. And sooner or later, for whatever reason, humanity is likely to breathe its last breath. And seeing as so many different parts of society are operated by the private sector and as a result by corporations, I'm just wondering what choice is one of those, one of the last corporations to exist, if not the last one. What choice will one of them make that makes human beings extinct? And the reason why I think that that's likely to happen is because it's already happening on a smaller basis. And by that I mean part of existence, of a species' existence, is that parents die and progeny live for a time until they become parents and their kids have been raised, and then they die. So in a way, this is something that I think, species go extinct all the time, except that it's not the entire species that goes extinct, it's just a specific generation at any given time. And if not for reproduction, it would be a permanent 100% extinction, let's say. So, in many ways, corporations provide for that generational death. Meaning that, let's say with respect to us, corporations have no problem, tobacco corporations, for example, have no problem selling a product that prematurely kills people. Many people all over the world, they'd like to sell more of it and by virtue of that, kill more people. So let me just make sure and say that. Corporations, tobacco corporations, for example, have no problem with prematurely killing more people. They would like to be able to do more of that all across the world. Now, of course, if they could do it via vaping and have people addicted to their product, that is also an option that I'm sure many of them would like to pursue as well, because you can have people vape and smoke cigarettes at the same time. There are corporations that play a role in polluting the environment via CO2, for example. Car manufacturers don't mind increasing the amount of CO2 in the environment by making more cars. And that unfortunately is going to increase the speed and the likelihood and the certainty and how drastic climate change is. And that is something that threatens our species. We might say, I remember at some point I had it in my head, and it is true, that, okay, for the most part, for the next 80 years or so, one of the worst things, or the worst thing that I'm seeing is that, okay, certain cities are going to flood, but when you really look at how is the map going to change, predicted by whatever models they have, you look at it and you think, that's it? That doesn't really seem that bad. And in 80 years, wow, that's not too bad. So I was a bit dismissive. But then there are other uncertainties, as in The models don't know everything. The oceans might rise a lot faster. And there's a tipping point. There's a point at which we are no longer in control, and this thing is just going to go on its own, and we may not be able to stop it at all, no matter if we stopped emitting CO2 completely. And that tipping point, who knows where it is? And if the temperature of the planet becomes warmer indefinitely, I'm sure there's a temperature at which we're going to go extinct, especially if we can't adapt fast enough. And it might not be in 80 years, but if you're pushing towards that and you don't know if you can stop it, it kind of seems like you're that kind of corporation that I was talking about at the beginning, that you are willing to bring the tragedy of the commons down on us, whereby we all starve to death because nobody has any place to feed their cows on the commons anymore, if you know of that example. Of course, there's the oil companies that just want more economic benefit. And as far as they're concerned, we just need to get all the coal, all the oil, all the natural gas, just bring it up out of the ground, burn it, let's get rich. Nothing's going to happen. And they don't seem to mind. Everybody seems to suppress information that might hurt their business model, their current business model. And, I get it. The fact of the matter is that the scientists, they're not 100% certain that any one thing is going to happen a particular way. They don't have a crystal ball. They don't know for certain that, hey, the earth is just going to keep warming up and we are just going to all die. I mean, there are things that we don't know about. And scientists can say that, okay, corona will do this or Ebola will do that. And the next thing you know, the opposite of it happens. A doctor might say, well, you have 2 months to live. And then this guy is fine 10 years later and he doesn't do anything. So I understand that people want to play with that uncertainty, right? But can we afford to play with that uncertainty? I mean, we're pretty smart at this point. We have sent people to the moon. We have sent submarines to the deepest part of the oceans. We've been able to provide food for almost 8 billion people and counting. We've been able to set up communications so that you can talk instantaneously with somebody on the opposite side of the planet. And in such a way that there's almost no lag, and it's like if they're next to you. We have done really amazing things. So it's pretty clear that although nobody knows absolutely about these things, we seem to have a pretty good understanding, enough to see galaxies that are, thousands of light, what am I saying, thousands, millions of light years away, if not billions. I think the visible universe is 45 billion light years wide. I think it is. We have enough information to model everything that happened after the Big Bang, up to the 1/trillionth of a second, all the way back to there. So I think that we probably should give what the scientists are saying some credibility. But I'm wondering, just for the sake of wondering, what deal is it? How much money is that last corporation that exists that they're gonna make for making us go extinct? I think in a recent video I learned that American corporations helped the Nazis, like Ford, for example, that they made money from the Nazis during, the war. So I'm just wondering, how much money you think they're going to make on that last deal that just seals our fate? Are they going to make a deal I don't think it's likely that we're going to have any aliens come in here. But what if they make a deal with the aliens? To have something happen and they just think, well, if we don't do it, somebody will. And they take the money knowing that that might be the last generation of human beings in existence because of the deal that they struck with the aliens. Or they make that last tuning of maybe some kind of AI or some kind of simulated reality that they know will prevent people from wanting to reproduce or to come out of the simulation. And they know this is a twist. This is how we can go from getting, the final 5%, 95% of people jacking into the system to 100%. Nobody's going to live outside of the simulation from now on, and they can get whatever pleasure they want inside of the simulation. That's so much more than having sex. And they're not going to have sex. We know that. We've seen. And they're just going to go ahead and run that last bit of marketing that puts everybody into the simulation and seals the last generation of people to be born. I wonder if it's a drug, something that they might add to food that they know might, again, maybe reduce people's sex drive, their desire to have kids, their patience with rearing kids, or whatever it might be. I just wonder what that corporation is going to do. Because that's the thing. If you're only occupied with profit, not with the future of humanity, not with the quality of life of other human beings, not with just simple decency of right and wrong, what are we going to do? Because again, we're already killing people. We're already propelling ourselves close to the edge. What will be the final stroke that some corporation does? And maybe, what will be the name of the corporation? That'd be nice to know, maybe. Interesting. Anyway, guys, you can wish me lucks, you can like or unlike, you can comment, subscribe, and or share. And of course, I keep pushing this as a more favorable option, but it's the least you can do nothing. Peace.